Hello and welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so super pumped to be here right this second. I'm Allie. I'm an award-winning author, an international book coach and ghostwriter, and the CEO and founder of The Right Place, Right Time. And I'm super excited that we've got a whole panel of some of my favorite people in the publishing industry that are here today for Shams, Scams, and Shady Shit, a panel for authors on avoiding the piranhas and pitfalls in publishing. I really hope that by the time we are done together today, that everybody who is joining us live or even eventually just comes back and catches the replay really learned a ton about being safe, certain, and taken care of in the publishing world. And you go on to work with people who care about you, your success, both your book and you as an author. So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to introduce all of our guests first, so you know who we've got with us and the beautiful brilliance that they bring to the world. And then I'm going to facilitate a series of questions that I've prepared that our panelists had the sneak peek to, but that will be surprises for you as those joining us live. And we will reserve some time for your questions at the end. So don't hesitate to be popping things into the comments so that we can go to those at the end of our time together today. All right, let's do this thing. All right, so panelists, welcome, and thank you for being with me to do this really crazy thing of talking about publishing. Let me take a moment to introduce these amazing folks. All right, and panelists, as I'm introducing you, feel free to drop your website link or your LinkedIn profile into the comments for the people who are joining us. So, first person I'd like to introduce, Christy Boyd Johnson is an accomplished author, having ghostwritten over 35 books for entrepreneurs and developed countless more. As a developmental editor and transformational book coach, she works closely with entrepreneur authors to create bestsellers that help them build their businesses. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you, Andy. This is amazing. I can't believe. Thank you for inviting me to be with this panel. This is a freaking amazing panel you have here.
You're so welcome. All right. And next, I'd like to introduce Juliette Clark. Juliette Clark is an 8-time best-selling author, speaker, and podcaster who spent the last 20 years helping authors, coaches, speakers, and small businesses all over the world build expert audiences. Her company, Superbrand Publishing, is a hybrid publishing company that works with expert authors to build multi-platform release strategies and bestseller marketing campaigns that connect the book to the author's business. Welcome, Juliette.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be with all you guys.
And third, we have Jen T. Grace, an award-winning author, nationally recognized speaker, and savvy publishing strategist. Jen T. Grace is the founder of Publish Your Purpose, the acclaimed hybrid publishing company that gives first-time authors the secrets to getting their books written, finding an eager audience, and making their place in the publishing world. Publish Your Purpose is a certified B Corp social enterprise that meets the gold standard of socially and environmentally friendly business practices. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you, Allie. I'm excited for today.
And we have Bridget McGowan Hawkins, an award-winning international professional speaker, award-winning author, and award-winning publisher, and owner of Press 49. Bridget and her team at the hybrid publishing company Press 49 work with entrepreneurs, business coaches, consultants, business owners, and professional speakers to eliminate all of the guesswork to get authors published faster than the competition and with results authors absolutely love. Welcome, Bridget.
Thanks a ton, Allie.
And we have Judy Ellis. Judy is an experienced writer and editor. She began her writing career in daily newspapers where she learned the power of storytelling to transform lives. She's worked for the Denver Post and the Dallas Morning News, written freelance articles for She the People at the Washington Post and Politics Daily and Woman Up at AOL, and served twice on a Pulitzer Prize jury, including once as a chair. More recently, she served as the editor-in-chief at Cultures Magazine. As the president of Daybreak Lit, she loves collaborating with business leaders, marketers, and authors on their dream writing projects. Welcome, Judy.
Hey, Allie. Great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
And we could not forget Parshell Tashi. Parshell Tashi is an accomplished and award-winning video producer who started her career as a high school math teacher before venturing into video production over a decade ago. Based in San Diego, she founded the Authors Leverage, a team of experienced professionals in learning design, high-quality video production, and learning management systems who support authors in turning their best-selling books into premium online courses. Thanks for being here, Parshell.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
And last but certainly not least, we have Mary Catherine Jones, the go-to for all things audiobooks, the owner and executive producer of Voice Over Vermont, a full-service audiobook recording studio in Shelburne, Vermont. Whether she's working with an author to record their memoir with their voice or casting a remote recording session for a national publisher, she brings her curiosity to every project that comes into her padded room, also known as her recording studio. Welcome, Mary Catherine.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right, folks. So before we get to our regularly scheduled programming, I wanted to let you know a couple things about our time together. So number one, it is totally intentional and by design that I have pulled together a diverse body of folks in the publishing industry. They are not all doing the same thing within publishing, which is so critical for everybody who's joining us to understand, because you are not going to have just one touch point along your path. You're going to have several. So that's like the first myth that I want to dispel here today. And you're going to get to hear from all these fabulous people and more about what they do through their answers to the questions. The other thing I want to let you know is that I will ask the question. Sometimes I will call on a panelist specifically to respond to that question because of their expertise in the field. Other times we're going to do something called a rapid fire question, where you're going to get an answer from every single panelist as quickly as they can come up with it, so that we can hear from all the voices and we can have some fun while we're doing it. Again, for those of you who are joining in with us a little bit after the hour began, drop those questions into the comments. We will have some time at the end to get to them. So, panelists, are you ready? All right. My guests who are here with me in the comments or joining live, get your pencils ready, because you're about to get some serious scoop on writing and publishing so that you can avoid those shams, scams, and shady shit. All right. So here we go with our kickoff question. What does and doesn't integrity and ethics look like in publishing? Okay, what does and doesn't integrity and ethics look like in publishing? And I'm going to kick this one over to Jen to begin.
Beautiful. Thank you, Allie. Okay, so I could probably write 12 books about this topic. And I'm grateful that we're here today because we have our sham, scams, and shady shit, because I feel like as publishing professionals, we all are kind of used to encountering companies that are operating with lack of integrity and ethics. And so, you know, I think when I first became an author, which was a decade ago now, I've been helping other authors for about 8 years. One of the things that I see consistently come up is that in the publishing space, so often an author is coming to the table and they have this dream and vision of being an author, and they don't know how they're going to get there, but they're coming with such a place of purity in some ways, of like, this is just a lifelong dream. I have to do this thing. And what I see routinely over and over again is that there's companies out there that prey and suck on that weakness and vulnerability over and over and over again. And that's why I love that this is the topic of the panel today, because there really are a lot of sham, scams, and shady things that are kind of happening across the board. And so what I notice over and over again is the lack of integrity. You know, there's great people like us. You know, I feel like I can say that proudly, being in this orbit of people right now. But there's just a lot of companies that are not doing things well. And what I would say, and this would be my tip, so I'm gonna have to come up with another one later, is when you're evaluating how you're gonna go about this process, whether it's working with a ghostwriter or whether it's hiring a hybrid publisher or a self-publishing service provider, is look at the legal agreements of what you're getting into. Because so often as creatives, we're like, hey, we don't have to look at the legal side of things. Like, it's fine. It's kosher. Everyone like wants to help me with have my dream come true. But the reality is that we have to look at the fine print of what we're getting into. So that would have been my tip later. I'll come up with another one after that. But that's where I think where you can really see the ethics and integrity, and looking at reviews online, you know, typing in any of our names and put reviews, scams, shady things after us. I feel confident that nothing's going to come up for any of us. But if someone's operating out of integrity, there's going to be a lot to be said on the internet about it.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jen. I'm going to bounce this over to Juliet to kind of deepen and expand what Jen kind of started us off with.
Yeah, Jen just hit on a big one, the legal agreements. But also, I think one of the things that really designates integrity in all of this is a publisher who will take the time to temper expectations, really explain the industry to you so that you have a good journey along the way and you're not disappointed at the end. So how will the book be used? Is the book up to standards? What do you need platform wise to achieve the sales that you're looking for? And I think that is really one of the big things. One of the pitfalls, someone who won't explain the deliverables inside of a package and why you need those deliverables as part of it, because publishing has a language of its own. And a lot of times, if you don't have these things explained to you, you have expectations of something that's not going to happen.
I will unmute myself now. So I love that. So what I heard, and I'm just going to recap from Jen and Juliet, and then Bridget, we're going to get your hot take. So tip 1, make sure that you're looking at those legal agreements, what's in the fine print, what exactly is being said and not said. Tip 2, leave a review of the publisher, whether they're good or bad, right? So other authors know who they're dealing with, but look at reviews also when you're vetting a press. Tip 3, work with a publisher who's willing to walk you through the steps and help you understand. And warning sign, if someone is not willing to explain the deliverables, look out. All right, Bridget, what do you want to add to this conversation?
I have 6 and I'll be succinct. 1, do they have a commitment to service? Are they open? Are they accessible? Are they authentically helpful without any kind of private agenda? Will they put you in contact with some of their authors or some of their clients so you can have a conversation with them about their experience working with your company, so on and so forth? 1 is commitment to service. Number 2, commitment to leadership and excellence. Are they committed to providing you with actual guidance, actual expert perspective, and help you or support you in reaching your goal of getting published? Number 3, are they committed to standards? Will they accept any and everything and just publish? Or do they have the highest standards in the publishing industry? And are they working to create the kinds of works that you would like your name to be associated with? No, you didn't author the other books that they've published, but you are associated with those authors because at Press 49, you're a part of the Press 49 family. Do you want to be a member of that family? Then number 4, integrity. I mean, that's what we're talking about right here. So do they make sure, do you ensure that they're not misleading you or misleading people with false promises? Oh, your book can become an Amazon #1 bestseller and all this type stuff. And then looking very closely at that contract, as we just covered with Juliet. Do they have that integrity in place? Number 5, inclusivity. Can you look at their roster of authors? Can you look at their roster of team members and see yourself among them? And you want them to have different viewpoints. You want them to embrace different voices. And then finally, number 6, professional development. Do they engage in constantly learning about the profession? Do they engage in keeping up to date with what's happening in the industry? So those are my 6 for you. And I have to be honest, I stole those from IBPA, the Independent Book Publishing Association. I'm telling you, that is a key too. Are they members of IBPA, where that organization insists that you abide by the highest standards if you're going to be a member of its organization?
Love it. Oh my gosh, that was like a rapid fire just from one person. So I think I captured most of that and threw it into the comments for folks who are more of a copy and paste type instead of trying to furiously write with your own pencil or pen. I want to open it up to the rest of our panelists in case one of them wants to kind of like dive in or has something really burning to say on this topic before we move on to our first rapid fire question. Mary Catherine.
So first of all, everything that Bridget said, IBPA, all of that, but it might not surprise you, since what I do is audiobooks, that what ethics and what good publishing standards look like are actually what they sound like, right? So is somebody that you're talking to listening to you? Are they responding to your questions, or are they trying to shoehorn you into a mold that they have already created? So for me, it really starts with listening.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. And Christy's like, I got something to say.
So I'm a book developer and developmental editor. So I'm coming at this more from the author point of view. Please do not steal from other people and claim it as your own. It is plagiarism. It is, just don't do it. I can't tell you how many times I've had to correct somebody who's claimed information and said it's theirs that they've come up with, and it's like, no, it's not. It belongs to this person. You have to credit them. And so the bigger side of that is, don't take someone else's work and then write a book report about it in your book. If they want to read that book, they'll read it. They don't need you to explain that book to them. We're not, in middle school here. So, but yeah, plagiarism, please do not ever, always give credit. Always, always, always give credit where credit is due, to not only because it's illegal, but also because it protects you from legalities down the way.
Thank you, Christy. And I want to echo what Teresa says in the comments. It's sad that you even have to say that. Which, yes, I agree. It's so true. Juliet.
Sorry, I had a hard time unmuting. I just want to add to Christy, that extends to graphics. It extends to images, because that's probably the number one thing is we get books with images in it and they don't belong to the author. They think they can just take them from the internet and all is good. But once you're making money, you need to buy those images.
Allie, you're muted.
That's why Mary Catherine is shaking her head at me. I said, are you all ready for a rapid fire question? Can we move on? All right, let's do it. So this is for everyone. And I'm just going to call on you based on how I see you in my Hollywood Squares lineup. All right, so this is the question. Now, the trick is be as succinct as possible and try not to say something that somebody else before you has already said. All right, and the question is, what is one common pitfall or cautionary tale you would want an aspiring author to look out for? Okay, and I am starting off with Christy.
So for authors, especially new authors, fiction and nonfiction are very different things. For fiction writers, watch your details. Yes, you need to put in enough detail that we understand the setting and the characters and everything, but don't write 53-page description of driving across the country. Just don't. Just cut that out and stick to the story. For nonfiction, be careful about names, because if you have to be careful about names and make sure you have permission from them or disguise them somehow. Because again, you don't want to have someone come back and go in your book and I didn't give you permission.
Beautiful, thank you. All right, Judy, what's your pitfall or cautionary tale?
Cautionary tale, I guess pitfall. Let's say cautionary tale. I think, speaking like Chrissy said, for authors, for writers, I think they need to have a reality check right away. When you're developing a story and a concept, all of it won't get there, and that's okay. A first draft is just what it is. It is a first draft. Creativity is a journey, and it's not bad. Your editors are not your enemies. They are your friends. So when you do that first draft, you need to do it in private and put it all out there, whether it's a memoir, a business book, or, like I like fantasy writing, whatever it is. And then know that everybody's not going to make it to the end in that particular work. And it's okay, because that finished document, you want to look at it as your best thing. You're the best thing you have to give to the world. And that takes time. It's a journey. So my thing is, have a realistic view. I'm going to put it all out here, but in the end, the most refined, the best that I have to offer, I'll give to the world.
Love it. Oh my gosh. All right, it's juicy. It's juicy, everybody. Juliet, what's your cautionary tale?
Cautionary tale. ask for the contract in advance and closely pay attention to the revenue area of it. We've seen contracts lately where people have, publishers have put in percentages of your online program that they would like to get, or unnegotiated percentages of TV and movie deals. If the publisher is not negotiating those or doesn't own the IP for those, they're not entitled to it, and you shouldn't. You should move on.
Awesome. Bridget.
Pitfall. Publishing only on Amazon. When you decide to just publish on Amazon, you are limiting your book's reach. Publish your book or submit it for distribution, not only on Amazon, but Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, on down the line. You're limiting your book's reach. Cautionary tale. Not seeing the big picture for your book. And I know you said one or the other, but I'm doing both. I'm breaking the rules, okay? Not seeing the big picture for your book. Not looking at your book as more than just getting sales from your book, but figuring out other avenues for getting sales that stem from you being a published author. Don't look at it as, oh, I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage with book sales. But I need you to really step back and say, why am I writing this book? What is the end goal? What is it going to be able to do for me? What is it going to be able to do for my business? Look at your book as a business.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. I'm capturing all of these in the comments for y'all. All right. Mary Catherine, what's your pitfall and or cautionary tale now that Bridget has set a trend?
Okay, well, my pitfall is going after Bridget because she literally stole my thunder with going Amazon exclusive, but that's okay. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back as a winner on this one. I would say that another cautionary tale is if you have written your novel or your nonfiction piece and you bring it to a potential publisher and they look at it and they smile and they say, wow, this is ready to go, run. If this is the first time you've had somebody take a look at it, it can't be the last time. You need to work with somebody who's going to give you the feedback that your project needs to get out into the world in the best possible way.
Oh my gosh. Can we just get like an amen? Because like, how many times have we seen the thing and they're like, no, I swear it's done. And you're like, no. How many times have you looked at this? And they're like, well, at least the first time. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Nada. All right. Parshell, what you got for us?
Yeah, I would definitely say waiting until your book is published before you give any thought or insight, piggyback off of Bridget, how you're going to leverage this book. Because it really is, in the way that I've often seen the authors that I work with in my perspective with them, is that the book is like the Eiffel Tower. You know what I mean? It's the main attraction, but there's so many experiences around it that you get to create. So don't wait until the book is published to start thinking about that. In fact, you can start to leverage your book towards speaking engagements and consulting opportunities before the book is even published, because you can always promote and share, hey, I have a book coming up, and people are excited to be a part of that stage of your journey too. So that's what I would say for sure. Don't wait until it's published to start having these conversations and brainstorming that.
Oh my gosh. And so Parshell will be on Open Book Broadcast, sorry, shameless plug, in November. And she talks about the Eiffel Tower as a metaphor for the book and the platform around it. It's brilliant. And also shameless plug for Parshell. She's got a beautiful new offer, digital workbooks for authors that complement their nonfiction books. Everybody on this panel should definitely be having a conversation with Parshell about that. And everybody in the comments, you should also be tuning in. All right, end of commercial break. Jen, what do you got? Cautionary tale or pitfall?
Pitfall, saying yes to the first person you speak to. So when we're researching who we want to publish with, who we want to ghostwrite our book, what type of author program we want to be part of, never say yes in that first conversation, because you don't know what you don't know at that point. Take what they have to say, make a mental note of it, take some notes, write it down, whatever you have to do, talk to somebody else, and really just explore what your available options are before committing to something that you're not fully sure what you're getting.
Oh my gosh, so huge. I often feel badly when somebody talks to me for the first time and they're like a yes, but they haven't talked to anybody else. Like, I'm thankful for the business and I'm glad that we had the connection, but I also kind of feel like, did you comparison shop? Did you make sure that I was the best and the right fit? Like, you know, because I don't really want to sell anybody on anything that doesn't feel good and doesn't feel authentic, right? So I think that's really, really important. You know, there are so many amazing people within the industry. Don't say yes to the first person. And if you do, you're likely to like say yes to the wrong person, right? Because you haven't scoped out the rest of the landscape, you know, which goes back to that first question about what does integrity look like. You got a lot of people who are ready to sell you on some shit that you don't need or don't know what they're doing. And if you're just eager to say yes because you want to get the move on, then you've already kind of, you know, put yourself back, I think, from success. All right, we're going to do a new question. So let's talk about warning signs. Some of these came up a little bit in that very first question that we talked about, but let's really specifically say, okay, if this happens when you're on the call with somebody, so thinking about this from that aspiring author's perspective, they're vetting their editors, their coaches, their publishers, their cover designers, whoever it may be, right? What's like an obvious warning sign that this person is a shady person or this is a scam that the author is about to walk into? Mary Catherine, let's begin with you.
Okay, I think that one of the most visible warning signs, quite honestly, is what do the covers look like for their books? There is so much that is shown and not spoken when you look at the variety of different covers and their professionalism. Some of them look like they're generated by AI because they are. And so if you see something that looks kind of wonky, I would really put a red flag on that.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, everybody. That word red flag in the comments has a typo because I was doing two things at once, but you all know what I'm talking about. I love that. I would also add in addition to AI, looks like they just use templated Canva art. All right. No. All right. Parshell, what about you in the work that you do? Either course development or maybe now even what you're seeing with the digital workbooks, you know, what might be some warning signs that you would give to your aspiring authors who have vetted other people who do something similar to you that are like, you shouldn't have done that?
Yeah, I think it's really about, you know, a lot of times people in author support positions are helping to create that success. And oftentimes I think one of the, it feels like a vanity thing, but essentially they're promising these unrealistic success metrics, if you will, without any support or linkage to the marketing and distribution at part of that conversation. Like it has to, you know, success just doesn't mean that you have it. And this is something that I've learned as well. It has to be connected also to a plan for not only how the user is going to receive it, you know, what's that process going to be like, right? Because we're in a place where we want to provide a high tech and high touch experience for others. And so that looks like making sure that that process around the purchase, once they receive whatever it is, that, you know, that experience for them is also given a lot of thought and consideration. So that's what I would say for sure. It's like, it's a warning sign if you're getting, you know, all of these successful, you know, pictures that are being dreamt up for you, but it's not coming along with, here's how this is actually going to happen and be executed.
Yeah, I think in any step of the publishing way, no matter who you're working with, if there's not a strategy or plan, you should be wondering how anything is going to be executed, right? Like editors have plans of how they edit and what that process looks like, even if the author isn't like next to them when they're editing. Publisher has multiple steps that they go through to bring a book to market. Cover designers should probably be getting some information from the author before they're just whipping up some sort of design out of thin air, right? Everything has a process and a strategy. So if it's missing from any part along the way, warning. Okay, let's go to Bridget.
If they are not able to answer your questions to your satisfaction, you might want to think twice. If they're not able to explain the why behind their process, for instance, if you are meeting with a publisher and they can't tell you the why behind getting an international standard book number, they can't tell you the why behind going through developmental before mechanical editing or whatever, if they cannot explain for you the why and explain and answer any kind of questions to your satisfaction, you really want to think twice. They should know their industry inside and out. And if they cannot explain for you the logic or the rationale behind any step in the publishing process, the writing process, the editing process, whatever the case may be, then you really want to reconsider.
Awesome. I'm going to tag in our other two publishers, and then we're going to go to Christy and Judy from that kind of editorial book development standpoint. So, Jen, warning sign of scam or shadiness happening.
So what I've seen surprisingly a number of times is the word copyright or the word forward written improperly. So if you are in the book business, you should know how to spell those words properly. And if they're on your website or in a contract or in a follow-up email, that is a big old red flag.
That's a good one, Jen. Like, I am over here looking like a bobblehead doll. That is a good one.
That is awesome. It's like so simple, but like that's the kind of detail orientation, right? You want them to be able to not just, speak the language, but also spell the language. All right, amazing, love it. Juliet.
Anytime you're speaking with a publisher and they're trying to sell you into a one-size-fits-all package with things in it you don't need. So a great example we just saw was an art book, picture books, with an audio book component to it. And I don't know how you do that. Maybe Mary Catherine does, but she actually paid for that to be developed and there's no way to develop it. So really look at, can the publisher meet you with the specifics of what your project actually needs and not sell you a bunch of junk.
That's hilarious. Can you imagine an audiobook? And on the right page, there's a black line border with a picture of a tree in the dead center. I can't think of anything more boring, to try to understand the visual representation. All right, yeah, one size fits all does not work. Excellent point. All right, let's head up to the top corner of my Hollywood Square to talk to Judy and Christy. Judy, warning sign from your end of things.
Okay, I'm going to be old school here. Customer service, just sheer customer service. And that will include, where's the invoice? How much am I going to pay? Do I have to pay anything at all? What are the deliverables? All the basic thing is there. And then also, I think part of customer service is telling the truth. So that means if you as an author are talking to a publisher and they're willing to shortcut with you, that's not good customer service, not to mention it's not full of integrity. But good customer service hides a multitude of problems, or I should say imperfections, whether that's the editor or whether that's a publisher. If you are showing up, if you own what you're doing with them, if you correct, if you fix, if you meet deadlines, all that's part of what I'm saying is a customer service bubble. Give good customer service. If you don't see that, run.
I love that. And I also want to note something that you said about if they're skipping a part of the process. Well, if they're skipping a part of the process in customer service, where else might they be skipping a part of a process or shortcutting something or trying to cut corners or skimp, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the red flag. Exactly right.
Awesome. All right, Christy.
Okay. Well, I speak as an editor here, and if you're dealing with an editor and you're not ready to go to the publisher yet, you've got your first draft and you need an editor, there's many levels, but in development, please vet the editor and make sure they're not charging you a bunch of money just to blow smoke up your butt and tell you what you want to hear. And then they don't read anything or actually work with your manuscript. They just keep telling you, oh my God, this is going to be the biggest bestseller ever. No, it's not. It might be, maybe, but if they're just telling you what you want to hear, they're probably lying, because there will be things that need to be addressed. So you want an editor who's going to be honest and say, this is what's working, this is what's not working, This is why it's not working. And let's talk about how we can fix that. And if they're not doing that, find another editor.
100%. Oh my gosh. If you're going to do this book writing thing, folks, do it well, do it right, be committed to the process and the evolution that a book is. Like, and if you're just nodding and going, yes, I'll take that editor and I'll take that publisher because they're going to, you know, charge me total grand whopping $500. Number one, you're not our people. Sorry. Goodbye. You've been voted off the island. But like, really think about the quality of the book that you're putting out into the world with that kind of thinking and mentality and logic. I mean, in some ways, not only are you getting the warning signs, but if you were ignoring them, you were just as culpable as the people who are trying to do some shady shit out there and give really great books a bad name. Mic drop. Moving on. Okay. So we've got another rapid fire question for everyone. And this time we're going to go editorial perspective, Christy and Judy. Then we're going to get our audiobook genius to jump in here, and then Parshell, and then we're going to end with our publishers. So rapid fire question is, what is one question that an author should be asking when they are interviewing a person? Okay. And I think this is probably best responded to based on your services. Okay. What do you always love your aspiring authors to ask you when they are vetting you for your services? Okay, so we're gonna go back in reverse. Christy, starting with you.
So many questions. I think probably one of the biggest things is, you know, kind of tied to what I just said. Do you read the manuscript? And you know, what happens if it's not working? And the editor should be able to answer that question, because there are many answers to that question, but to give you an idea, as the author, they should be giving you an idea of how we approach it to work out so that it fixes whatever the problem is. And then how do they do that? Do we do it by Zoom calls? Do we do it just in writing? You know, how does that work? So that's the biggest thing, is really most authors would have already fixed the problem if they could see it, which is one of the big advantages of an editor, is they can see something because they have fresh eyes. So that's a big one, is being willing to fix whatever is not working so that your book becomes a reader experience. The writing is about the author. The reading is about the reader. So it has to be a reader experience.
Beautiful. I love that. Can you say that one more time, Christy, so people can be writing that down?
Yes. So writing the book, the whole process is all about the author. But the actual material in the book, the content of the book, is a reader experience. Whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you want your audience to love you. And that means you have to make the content for them. So that's a big deal, is don't write a book that's all about you. Well, I mean, a memoir is, but it still has to be a reader experience.
Absolutely. Judy, what's one question that you think people should be asking when they're interviewing an editor or even a ghostwriter, whichever perspective?
I think they should ask me, how much do I care about the manuscript? And how much more than that, how much I care about them as someone trying to produce something. And by when I say care, I mean, can I invest in it as an editor? Can I actually get invested so much that I'm walking through there with you and I want the best for you? And as I loved how Chrissy said that, in terms of the experience the reader's going to have. Sometimes editors say no, and we should be able to say no. And authors should be asking us what it is. So if we have to say no, we can come back and say, I don't think I'm the one for your book, but I have some great colleagues who can do that for you. So I think the integrity in terms of discussion about what the book is going to be, or what it wants to be, manuscript is going to become. But I also think, can I work with you? Am I going to give you what you need? Not just in terms of text, but am I going to give you the feedback you need? Do we jive? Do we have a collaborative energy between the two of us? Are we going to be able to work in step? Sometimes you can't avoid that. In the newsroom, you had to work with whoever was there, you know, and some nights it was good and some days it wasn't. And I've learned across a spectrum of editors, that's another conversation. But when it comes to your manuscript, there should be that synergy, and there should be authenticity between both the editor and the writer. And I would want a writer to ask those kind of questions. Can you work with me? Do you care about what I'm doing? Do you think this is something that we can really shine together with?
I love that, especially because when you're going in a non-traditional publishing path, you do have the choice and the option. You get to choose. You get to make the decision about who you work with. You're not just like, oh, this is it. Like these people automatically go to you. You can pick, right? So like, why wouldn't you pick the people who actually give a damn? All right, let's go over to Mary Catherine. A question that you would want authors to ask about audiobooks.
There's so many questions. It's actually really hard for me to know where to begin. But I think that the first one is really piggybacking on what Judy was saying, which is, how do I know I'm going to be a good fit? So the author needs to say, how do I know that you're the right person for me to work with? And so that opens up the possibility of asking all sorts of different questions. How do you best like to work? Are you somebody who is collaborative? Are you very much I want to hand off the manuscript and you just let me know when the audiobook is done? That probably isn't going to be a good fit for me, because there's always going to be questions. There are going to be decisions that have to be made, sometimes on the fly as we are doing a book. And I really want the author to be involved with that. And also, I think that what I really love it when authors ask me is, do you have people that I can talk to about their experience? Because then I'm able to give them a nice long list, and basically they can ask those same questions that maybe they don't feel comfortable asking me.
And I would say that that's a good one to ask no matter like where you're at in the journey. Ask for other people to basically vouch for your expertise in what you are offering them on the publishing journey. Parshell, what do you wish authors would ask you when they're interviewing you?
Yeah, for me, I would say that the projects that are the most fun and that usually bring the best results and the experiences is great, is because there's a really, really great client relationship between me and the author. And so for that reason, my questions that I would like to be asked are a little bit different. They're really around, personal questions that dive into core values and who we are as people. In my position, I love the thought of building really long-lasting relationships and seeing that as really something that's important, especially in the area of how can we continue to repurpose this book, right? So I love questions about that as well, and oftentimes I'll get that, but it's just it's a personal thing, so that way the experience is enjoyable and also goes towards a positive result in the end.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, before I take it over to our publishing reps, I just want to note that there's a trend here, folks. if you're still tuning in with us, there's a trend here among everybody's answers so far, which is like and trust the people that you're going to work with. Notice how these questions are not necessarily about what are your payment terms and can you tell me about every single nut and bolt part of the process, right? This is like, do you respect me? Do you like my project? What are your values? How do you like to work? This is about a relationship building that then segues and transitions over to your book. So these are human elements, and just getting onto my soapbox, human elements that AI can't replace. And onward we go. All right, Juliet, question you wish that authors would ask.
How involved are you going to be? How much will we be meeting, and will you help me with the things that are outside the manuscript? So if someone doesn't do that, if they're not going to help you and critique that back cover copy, they're not going to help you understand how to ask for endorsements in a very respectful way. What does your current bio look like? There's more to the book than just the manuscript, and making sure that you're meeting on a regular basis and helping that person through the process, not just handing off the manuscript and, oh, your book's ready. Yeah, it's a mess, but it's ready.
Awesome. Those are great questions. All right, Bridget, what do you want to add?
Somewhat parallel to what Juliet shared, I would love if authors ask me, will you just do as I say, or will you give me your expert advice? Although I've given you my bio, or I've given you the description that I think is great for my book, or I've given you this wonderful title I think is wonderful, will you just roll with that? Or will you say, I love the effort you've put into this, based on my team's expertise, we recommend this, and here's why. Back to my why. And really showing them that you're invested in them shining, right? So asking a question that ensures that this publisher wants to see you crush it with a gorgeous book and every attention paid to detail.
Love it. Love it. All right. You are hiring people for their expertise, folks. So if you just plan on listening to your own advice, choose a different path. All right, Jen, let's wrap up this question with your response on a question you wish aspiring authors would ask.
You know, every time I thought I had a new question, someone would take the question that I would ask. And then it happened again and again and again and again. So all of the things that were already said, I would say. And I guess the only thing I would add, which I feel like was already somewhat covered, is having them ask you, am I a right fit for your author family? Like, I really think that, which goes back to the core values alignment, because for me, if I am going to take an author on, like, I personally have to believe in what they're up to in this world, because if I'm not personally invested, then my team's not personally invested, and then we're not going to be doing our best in, the best that we can for everything that they're up to. So for me, it's all about how do they fit into our PYP family.
I love that. And I think that goes back to speaking to something that Bridget mentioned earlier in our conversation about inclusivity. Like, do you see yourself among all of the people who have already been published by, this press, this publication? And also to inclusivity, I want to just go back to something that I said earlier to clarify when we were talking about art and visual books as audiobooks. And thank you for Michelle, who's in the comments, who said, and I can't find it exactly word for word, but audio description is used for movies for the blind and visually impaired, and I can see its value for a book if the author wants to make it accessible for that audience. And so I want to verify that absolutely 100% from that perspective. But I have to also believe that doing that, there's a certain process and certain tools and skills that are required in order to do that. You don't just go and do it half-cocked. And to Juliet's point, if publishing companies are just packaging up services and saying automatically that you get an audiobook, thinking that every single audiobook is also the same, or it fits every single type, or is done in all the same ways, then we have to still stop and say, wait, what is the purpose? What is the larger why of creating this into an audiobook? Is this publisher able to do the thing, right? So thank you, Michelle, for putting that out there in the comments so I could go back and address that piece, because I think it's 100% important that we address that. Okay, it's 12:48. I want to respect that we've got a few people that are here with us, and they might have questions to ask our panelists without me just continuing on with my own agenda. So for those of you who are with us, could you put any question that you have in the comments? And if there's somebody specific that you would like to have answer because you're interested in their perspective, you can go ahead and do that. If it's more of a general question that you'd like to hear anybody address, then we'll kind of just toss it out to the group. So I will be watching the comments and see if anything pops in here. All right. Questions, folks. I see 13 eyeballs. So there are theoretically 13 people hanging on our every word. So this is your time to shine, folks. What are you dying to know from the experts? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch that space. While I'm watching that space, let's tackle one more rapid fire question, and we'll totally pause if somebody comes in with a specific question that they want to ask. So last rapid fire question, something specific to be looking for in a contract or the fine print. Now, I think this question is super important because lots of us are very uncomfortable. Oh, wait, Pamela, you saved the day. How do you make your book pop when it is in a field of lots of content like leadership? I'm going to just toss this out. Somebody want to weigh in? Just unmute yourself and go for it. Oh, Mary Catherine, I think you raised your hand first.
Okay, so I'm going to take this from the audiobook perspective, which is one way to make your book pop is to create an audiobook edition of it. And this is specifically when you're in a field like leadership, and I work with a lot of authors who have written books on leadership. They then are using that to help build their platform, their speaking platform, and to build their expertise. So that's one way to distinguish yourself in a field of writers who are writing about similar subjects.
Beautiful. Juliet, and then Jen.
One of the others is to make your book pop is start your platform building, your author platform building early. That way you have an audience that can share with other audiences. And I know you probably mean visual and what's in the manuscript, but it's important to build that following at least a year in advance, because people are just not going to find your book in a sea of books listed on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or any of those. So you need to start building and getting your own audience larger and more excited.
Absolutely. All right, Jen, and then Parshell.
I would say create cohesion, right? So if we're focused on your book popping, how does it tie into, especially if you're writing a leadership book, you must be doing this in a professional capacity, a business capacity. And so how can you create brand cohesion between the book, your personal brand, your professional brand, and whatever else that might look like? Because then you're not reliant on some random reader stumbling across your leadership book. You're more intentional about finding people that are already within your network and your expanded network to find that book and say, wow, that matches, that matches Allie. That's got to be something that Allie put out. So it can kind of pop from a more strategic angle.
And Parshell.
Yeah, one thing I would say is just really identifying who and what niche that book can serve, and just playing there as well. Because I think that to piggyback on what was just said, there's going to be a better connection and cohesion between you and who this book is for. So I would say, for example, if we're going to make a product based off of your book, one of the first things we're going to look at is who is this for? You know what I mean? It's going to be even more tailored to that. So depending on some of the details of who it's tailored to, I think that in your content and how you repurpose it, to always be speaking specifically to that group of people, and to identify that.
Love it. Okay, we've got one other question from Sam. With the advent of social media and online books, how do you write a book that would make folks come back to just reading a good hard copy? I mean, my answer is you write a damn good book. And you know what a damn good book looks like. All right. That's my short and quick, and I know it's not specific, but that's what I'm going to toss out there just to kick this off. Jen, I saw your hand go up first.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. I also feel like there are going to always be readers that will never read an ebook. There will always be a reader that will never listen to an audiobook, that just prefers a hard cover or a paperback. So I feel like I don't know that that would be the right question that I would be asking. It would be more of like, how am I engaging people in the ways and having all of the available options in ways that someone might want to consume my book available?
You took the words out of my mouth, Jen. You still have a large segment of the population. According to the Pew Research Center, there's still a majority of people who prefer a physical book. I prefer physical books. Multiply this by about 50 around this house. So there's still a lot of people who still prefer that physical hard copy book. So don't limit yourself. Cast that wide net. If you're going to publish a paperback, already say to yourself, I'm also going to publish an ebook to go along with it, if it makes sense. Okay. You don't want to publish an audiobook and you're putting out an art book. Okay. But cast that wide net, because there are certain people who are going to want to get a hard copy, a paperback, an ebook, or an audiobook, or whatever the case may be. You don't have to worry about this idea of people not picking up physical books going away. I don't think so.
Okay, Christy and then Juliet, and then we're going to do a little wrap up.
Okay. Well, mine is quick, but in categories, fiction readers who are readers tend to want a hardcover. They just like to go sit down somewhere and have a book, or get on an airplane and have a book. And the other category that's really big with physical books is children's books, because we need to give our children real books and not always have them on a device. So that's still a really big area. So think about the area you're writing in too. that has an impact. But I totally agree. Have it available across platforms.
Mine is have across platforms, but here's the thing that we see with a lot of our readers is they will buy the audiobook first because they're very busy entrepreneurs, and then they will go buy that hard copy because they want to use it as a reference. So make sure that as within all those formats that you have that audiobook, because so many people are listening that way. And then they'll have, if you look at Bridget's library back there, then they'll go back and purchase like it looks like she has as a reference guide for the future. So as many formats as you can get out there.
Wonderful. All right, Sam, thank you for your question. Okay, we're gonna wrap up in these last few minutes. So we're gonna do kind of two things simultaneously. One, I'm gonna ask the people who have joined us live to post in the comments a key takeaway or aha that you gained from being here. That would be great, so we can kind of know what really struck you as being helpful and supportive in your book publication journey. Meanwhile, for panelists, I'm going to just call on each of you and allow you to give kind of a 30-second spotlight on something coming up that you would like to highlight within your services or business, and you can drop into the chat those links if there's something specific you want people to go and check out. All right, Parshell, let's start with you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Ali, for having me. This is an awesome panel. I learned a lot as well. I'm excited that in the upcoming year, we're, as you talked about, our digital workbook is going to be launching. So we're opening up right now for beta of that. So essentially, to explain that, most of the time when we want to integrate and dive into the work that we read in a book, that process can be a little bit cumbersome between the PDFs you have to download and all the places where you're going to store these things and hopefully fill them in and make them part of your life. So we're excited about this extension of that. So we have that coming up. And so we'll be doing some education around that in the new year. So what I'll do is post in here in the chat, just a link to my page where you can not only connect with me, but see some of the other offers that we have coming up.
Beautiful. All right, Jen, what do you got coming up?
I have a new book coming out next month, which looks like this: Publisher Purpose, a step-by-step guide to write, publish, and grow your big idea. And so much of the conversation in this book is around shams, scams, and shady shit in part 3 of the publishing side. So my goal is to help educate first-time authors specifically to just really understand what it is that they need to know about this industry so they can most effectively get their book out into the world.
Congrats, Jen. Book looks beautiful. All right,
Thank you.
Mary Catherine.
I want to second the thank you for asking me to be part of this panel. It's really great to be here with so many knowledgeable, ethical, fun people. I work with authors to create audiobooks. That's what I do. That is my passion. That is my purpose. And I love doing it. So I'll drop my information in the chat so you guys can connect with me. And I realize that you haven't asked for this, but right now I'm in the process of reading an ARC copy of a book that Ali and Bridget have co-written. And if you all don't plug it, then I'm going to put something about it in the chat because it is so fabulous. I am loving it. And it's basically to make sure that this is the stuff that you should be, don't write a book without reading this one, which I think is a fabulous title. And I don't know exactly when it will be available, but when it is, y'all should be grabbing a copy ASAP.
Well, thanks, Mary Catherine. And we're just going to segue over to Bridget. Perhaps Bridget wants to say something else about that on our behalf.
You're the absolute best, Mary Catherine. Yes, that's one of the big things that Press 49 has on the horizon. And it is the release of that book Ali and I are co-authoring, entitled Do Not Write a Book Until You Read This One. Isn't that clever? I know, right? Yeah. So make sure you visit Press 49. I'll pop the link in the chat, press49.com, and just follow us, stay with us, stick with us. We'll let you know. It's going to come out in the first quarter of 2024, but we are so excited about that book.
Yes, we are. All right, Juliet, what do you got coming up?
Well, next week I have a book coming out called, I don't know if you can see it, it's shiny, Author Alchemy. And we started Author Traffic School this year to help authors learn how to build their author platform correctly. One of the things we found was that, you know, there's a lot of growth in this, and a journal is certainly helpful for you to be able to manifest the steps of building your platform. So a lot of inspiration in there, and also gratitude, because you can't do any of this without gratitude. So there's a gratitude practice and how to manifest what you want to build in there.
Love it. Make sure you get that link into the comments for both the book and Author Traffic School. And can we just say, like, are you all noticing a theme that people in the writing and publishing industry like to write and publish books? Hilarious. I love it. Oh, Mary Catherine's like, no, thank you. All right, Judy, what you got coming up you want to tell folks about?
Let's see. For helping writers, I have new course that I'm starting. So I probably need to be talking to Rochelle, but I have a new course that I'm starting. And I will give you a preview of it in the chat. I have a downloadable item that you can use. So, and it's going to be talking about world building. I'm a fantasy writer, so I love world building. And I think there are tips that you can use, but I also think world building can apply to whatever genre you're writing. Because going back to, if I can't remember who said it, I think maybe it was you, Christy, the experience you give the reader, a lot of that comes from the world building you've created, the pace, the mood, you know, how does it sound? So I'll be giving that. The second thing I'll be working on is on my 4th book. So I'll be writing this fall. So that's what we're doing, because it's part of a fantasy series that I have. And so I'll post a link in the chat. But thanks again, Allie, and to all the folks who spoke here. This was awesome.
I'm so glad you're going to post those links, Judy. I got a sneak peek of the workbook, y'all, that's going to go with the world building course that she's putting together, and it's really, really great. So you're definitely, if you're a fiction fantasy writer, you're going to want to check that out. I did spend the wonderful time reading the first book in Judy's series, and talk about a person with some character development and world building like brilliance. Like, this book is a great example of that. So Judy, you better be plugging that whole series in the comments. All right, Christy, you're up.
Well, Allie and I have a 31-day writing challenge coming up in October on LinkedIn called October Quest. What is the rest of it, Allie? Booktacular? Booktacular event. Booktacular, yes. And so we want you to all jump in on our LinkedIn. It's almost ready to go live, and you can join up, but we'll start on October 1st and end with a Halloween party on October 31st. And it's 30 days of kicking your own butt and us helping you and supporting you to get you started writing your book or finished writing your book or whatever, with some lots of fun and tricks and treats and tips and strategies in there too.
Awesome. Can you notice a theme that I just love to collaborate with other badass, brilliant people in publishing? Writing challenges, books, open book broadcast, panels. This is what I'm about. So folks, thank you for tuning in. I sincerely hope that you got so much out of this conversation today that you are going to be able to avoid scams, shams, and shady shit, and work with people who love and adore you, who are committed to your success. Thank you to my panelists today for joining me. It has been a pleasure being with you for a whole 60 minutes to have you just spread your brilliance, love, and light in the publishing industry across all the people who showed up today live. So I will be in touch with all of you within the next couple of days to get some feedback from you all as panelists. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and thank you to everyone who was here.